The Prime Minister announced that the Ministry of Health will be receiving $65 million. That's up from $61.9 million in last year's budget. If Minister Byron Nisbett would join me on camera. Hello and welcome.
Hello. How are you, Jason?
I am well. And yourself?
I'm good, thank you.
So let's come a bit more on camera. Great. So now, okay, so as we mentioned, the Prime Minister announced that the allotment for the Ministry of Health is now $65 million. That's up from $61.9 million. So that's some more cash to play with this time around. What are your plans for the Ministry of Health this year now that you have an increased budget?
Well, the increased budget, of course, is due to our ongoing fight against the COVID-19 pandemic. So clearly we would have needed that increase in order for us to be able to offset some of the costs that would have been contributed to that, making sure we have all the necessary personal equipment and everything needed in order for us to be able to safely get out of the pandemic. As you know, we've just been seeing the introduction of the vaccine, and so it's probably going to take us some time before we'll be able to see a turnaround in the global climate as it pertains to COVID-19 and in our source markets in terms of tourism from the US and from the UK. And so until then, we need to be able to prepare ourselves for in the event that we have an increase in cases or whatever the case is. So it's just a way of us making sure that we are covered within the Ministry of Health to be able to fend off anything that may be coming our way.
Are there any specific plans coming up in the new year?
Well, most of our plans and everything that we'll be doing within the ministry will be focusing more towards our primary healthcare sector. That is our community health centers, and making sure that persons continue to do their part, because what the COVID-19 have revealed also that it's important for us to build our personal immune systems to make sure we'll be able to combat any disease that may come our way. And so you'll be seeing more in terms of the outreach from our community health centers and a focus more on our primary health care, as well as a focus more on making sure that persons do what they ought to do in order to take care of their own health. Of course, there are also capital projects which the Prime Minister would have spoken to, one being the St. Peter's Health Centre, but we are also going to be starting the phase 3 of the Joseph and France Hospital, where we're going to be building out the back of the hospital for things like the kitchen and the laundry and the stores, and making those, and the morgue, and making it in an atmosphere that's conducive for better working environment, and to make sure that we continue to do all that we can to improve on the services that we deliver within the Joseph and France General Hospital as well. So those are just some of the ideas, more of which will be discussed when I do my presentation, hopefully tomorrow.
Great. Now, 2020 has all been about COVID-19 and the undeniable impact it has had on the entire world. 2021, some people feel will be about the vaccine to COVID-19. So I do not know, what can you tell us about St. Kitts and Nevis's approach to this vaccine?
Well, we have, in 2021, we would have invested some money in what's called the COVAX facility. That is where over 180 countries would have invested into a fund that would allow at least 15 drug companies to be able to develop a vaccine. So we're pooling resources together to help these pharmaceuticals to be able to develop some form of vaccine. So once we have enough, or we believe that we have the most effective vaccine, then everyone who would have pooled into the COVAX facility would be able to get a proportion of about 20% to cover their population in terms of vaccine. We're expecting that to roll out within the first half of next year, and so we are hopeful that St. Kitts and Nevis will be able to have their vaccines. Of course, we would not be able to have enough vaccines to cover the entire population, as it's only 20% that would be covered in the first tranche. And so what we expect is to be able to roll out a plan so that, first of all, our frontline workers is the ones who will be most vulnerable to contracting the disease, so they would definitely be able to get the vaccine first, as well as other vulnerable groups within the society that we know should be the first set of beneficiaries from the vaccine. But as more information become available, we'll be able to share that some more, but the expectation is that we should be able to receive that vaccine through the COVAX facility, which we've invested in, by the first half of next year.
Thank you very much for your time.
You're welcome. Thank you.
That was Minister